I don't get along very well. That's not a secret we've held. I think we're enjoying this separation.
For 14 years, Adam Savage and Jamie Hyneman stood side by side on one of television's most unforgettable shows. One was loud, curious, emotional, always ready to laugh, argue, or blow something up. The other was calm, private, precise, a man who could look at chaos and somehow make it feel like part of the plan. Together, they became the faces of MythBusters. To millions of viewers, Adam and Jamie looked like the perfect team. They tested impossible myths, built giant machines, destroyed cars, created explosions, and turned science into something exciting for an entire generation. But behind the cameras, their relationship was far more complicated than fans realized. They were not best friends. They did not spend every weekend together. They did not build the kind of close personal bond that many viewers imagined. In fact, Adam Savage later explained that he and Jamie were not close friends. They were colleagues.
Professionals.
Two very different people who learned how to work together because the job required it. And that may be the real untold story behind MythBusters. Not a secret betrayal. Not a dramatic Hollywood feud. But the strange and fascinating truth about two opposite personalities who created television history without ever becoming close outside of work. Before MythBusters, Adam Savage and Jamie Hyneman were already living very different lives. Jamie was an inventor, special effects expert, and owner of M5 Industries in San Francisco. He had worked in fields that demanded precision, problem-solving, and technical discipline. He was known for being private, focused, and not interested in unnecessary attention. Adam came from a creative background. He had worked in model making, special effects, animation, and prop design. He was energetic, expressive, and fascinated by how things worked. When the producers of MythBusters began developing the show in the early 2000s, they needed hosts who could do more than explain science. They needed people who could build, test, fail, try again, and make viewers care about the result. Jamie was already connected to the production world through M5 Industries. Adam joined the project, and the contrast between them quickly became obvious. Jamie was controlled. Adam was spontaneous. Jamie spoke carefully. Adam spoke with excitement. Jamie often seemed uncomfortable with fame. Adam seemed able to turn curiosity into a conversation with the audience. On paper, it should not have worked. But on screen, it was perfect. Because MythBusters was never just about proving whether a myth was true or false. It was about watching two minds approach a problem in completely different ways. Adam wanted to explore every possibility. Jamie wanted to find the most efficient solution. Adam could become frustrated when something failed. Jamie could remain almost completely calm. That difference created tension. But it also created balance. For years, viewers saw them argue, disagree, correct each other, and sometimes look completely exhausted by one another. But the show kept growing. It became a global hit. It inspired students to love science. It made engineering feel exciting. And it proved that failure could be entertaining as long as you learned something from it. Still, as the show became bigger, the pressure also increased. Long filming schedules, dangerous experiments, complex builds, constant deadlines, and the responsibility of keeping a massive production moving. For Adam and Jamie, the job was not simply about standing in front of a camera. They were building real machines, working with explosives, testing stunts, and making sure everything was safe enough for a television audience. The more successful MythBusters became, the more people expected from them. And eventually, the question was no longer whether the show would become a success. The question was whether two people so different could keep doing it forever. Because after years of working side by side, the partnership that fans loved was slowly moving toward its final chapter. As MythBusters grew into a worldwide phenomenon, fans began to see Adam Savage and Jamie Hyneman as a pair, like two halves of the same machine. Adam and Jamie, Jamie and Adam. Their names became impossible to separate. But away from the cameras, they lived very different lives. Adam was open about his love of storytelling, art, costumes, movies, and creative communities. He enjoyed sharing ideas with fans. He spoke passionately about making things. He embraced the public side of being a television personality. Jamie was almost the opposite. He valued privacy. He focused on projects. He rarely seemed interested in celebrity. Even on the show, he often appeared happiest when he was building, testing, or solving a problem, not talking about himself. Over time, fans started asking the same question. Were Adam and Jamie actually friends? The answer surprised many people. Adam has said publicly that they were not friends in the traditional sense. They respected each other. They worked together. They trusted each other professionally. But they did not socialize much outside of work. For some viewers, that sounded sad. But it does not mean the partnership was fake. In fact, it may explain why it lasted as long as it did. They understood the boundaries. They did not need to agree on everything. They did not need to share the same hobbies. They did not need to become part of each other's private lives. They needed to do the work. And they did it extremely well. That is something many people understand from their own lives. Some of the strongest working partnerships are not built on friendship. They are built on trust, on reliability, on knowing that when a difficult job needs to be done, the other person will show up prepared. Adam knew Jamie would bring technical discipline. Jamie knew Adam would bring creative energy. Together, they could test ideas neither one could have carried alone. But television has a way of turning professional tension into entertainment. Every disagreement looked bigger on screen. Every annoyed glance became a meme. Every moment of silence made fans wonder whether something was wrong. And while Adam and Jamie did sometimes clash, there is no evidence of a hidden scandal that destroyed their relationship. The real truth was simpler. They were different people. And after years of working under intense pressure, they were ready to move into separate chapters of life. By the mid-2010s, MythBusters had already lasted far longer than most television shows. The series had produced hundreds of experiments. It had changed hosts and formats. It had survived the challenge of constantly finding new myths worth testing. But every long-running show eventually reaches a point where continuing becomes harder than ending. In 2015, Discovery announced that the original MythBusters series would end after its 14th season. The final episodes aired in 2016. For fans, it felt like the end of an era. The workshop, the explosions, the impossible stunts, the famous catchphrase, "I reject your reality and substitute my own." All of it was coming to an end. But the final season was not presented as a dramatic breakup between Adam and Jamie. It was a conclusion, a chance to celebrate what they had built, and a chance for both men to finally step away from a job that had defined much of their lives. After the final episode, Adam and Jamie did not launch a new show together. They did not continue appearing as a permanent duo. And for some fans, that silence felt like proof that something terrible had happened. But sometimes, a partnership ends because the work is complete. And sometimes, the most honest thing two people can do is allow each other to move on. When MythBusters ended in 2016, Adam Savage and Jamie Hyneman finally had something they had not experienced in years: freedom. For more than a decade, their lives had been organized around production schedules, builds, tests, safety meetings, travel, deadlines, and the pressure of making every episode feel bigger than the last. After the show ended, both men moved forward in their own way. Adam Savage became even more connected to the maker community. Through tested, online videos, live events, and creative projects, he continued sharing his love for props, costumes, engineering, and storytelling. He became a familiar face for people who loved building things. Not because he claimed to know everything, but because he showed that curiosity never has to end. Jamie Hyneman took a quieter path. That was exactly what many fans expected. He continued working on inventions, engineering ideas, and educational projects. He remained interested in solving practical problems rather than chasing the spotlight. For Jamie, fame had never seemed like the goal. The work was the goal. And perhaps that difference explains the entire Adam and Jamie story. Adam loved sharing the journey. Jamie loved solving the problem. Adam made people feel the excitement of discovery. Jamie made the discovery possible. Neither man needed to become the other. That was the strength of the partnership. Even though they were not close friends, they gave each other something valuable. Adam gave the show energy. Jamie gave it structure. Adam brought emotion. Jamie brought control. Adam asked, "What if?" Jamie asked, "How?" And together, they made science feel alive. Today, MythBusters remains one of the most influential science shows ever made. It changed the way audiences looked at experimentation. It made it normal to say, "We don't know yet, let's test it." It taught viewers that being wrong was not embarrassing. Being wrong was part of the process. And it inspired countless students to pursue engineering, science, design, and special effects. The show also proved something important about television. You do not need perfect friendships to create something meaningful. You do not need two identical personalities. Sometimes the best teams are built from differences. One person sees the world through imagination. The other sees it through logic. One person brings energy. The other brings patience. And when both people respect the work, they can create something far greater than either one could create alone. The untold story behind Savage and Jamie Hyneman split is not really about a split at all. It is about a professional partnership that lasted 14 years. A partnership built on respect, skill, discipline, and a shared belief that myths should be tested, not simply accepted. They may not have been best friends. They may not have spent their lives together after the camera stopped. But they changed television together. They changed science education together. And they gave millions of people a reason to look at the world and ask one simple question. Is that really true? If you enjoyed this documentary, please like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments. Who is your favorite MythBusters host, Adam, Jamie, Kari, Tory, or Grant? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.